Hey mamas, welcome to Breastfeeding Relief with Bethany. We share incredible stories, tips, and breastfeeding ideas to help on your journey. I'm your host, Bethany Laverne, a lactation consultant and speech therapist who helps mamas with breastfeeding. Not all breastfeeding stories are the same, and we dive into those topics. Welcome, Jenn, to the podcast. She's an ACE certified personal trainer with 10 plus years of experience. Jenn helps pregnant and postpartum women stay active by working out in a safe and effective way. Jenn teaches and supports mom to have a healthy body for mom and baby with a positive mindset during pre and post pregnancy. Welcome, Jenn.
Hi, Bethany. It's so excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about your kiddos?
Absolutely. So I am actually a stepmom to a boy who's 10, girl who's 8. And then I have two of my own who are, Molly is, what is she now? 21 months. And I had to think about that. And then my son is almost 5 months next week. So time is flying.
Yes. And it picks up faster, I think, Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and tell us how your breastfeeding journey is going?
Okay. So with Molly, my first one, it's been completely different with both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first one, you kind of hear that breastfeeding is going to be challenging, but I honestly didn't find it to be, or I didn't think it was going to be as challenging as it was. I thought, It'll be no problem. I'm really good at drinking my water. No problems. Mm-hmm. But that was not the case. So with Molly, right away, my midwife had asked me to start using formula, which was a challenge because I really wanted to fight for the breastfeeding. And so with it, when Molly came, I did work with consultation with the lactation to get the proper latch and everything. Mm-hmm. I felt like with her and I, we kind of battled the whole time. So she really kind of just not unlatched, but she just kind of at 7 months was like, okay, I'm content. I don't need to feed anymore, and just kind of stuck with formula to the last, which now coming into my second, I was like, okay, I want to fight for it a little bit harder than I did the first. Of course, whatever you choose to do, I totally support. But for me, I really like breastfeeding. I really enjoy it. And I've noticed that I really have to be putting my time aside because I'm a busy person. I'm an entrepreneur. I have lots of things going on. And I'm I need to make sure that I have time for feeding my child and not feeling like, oh, I can just go to the formula or do this because it's easier. And so with Oliver, he had an amazing latch right away. I was super excited, but he had a super fast metabolism as well.
Oh,
so they my midwife was like, oh man, she was watching how long he was latching for, and she was watching and we weighed him before and after, and he was getting 4 ounces in 6 minutes, so he was feeding fast.
Okay.
And so, but then his metabolism, they really wanted me to feed him every 2 hours, and sometimes I'm he's sleeping, I don't want to wake him. I know that I'm not the only mom that's I don't want to wake him.
Yeah. Our moms say, don't wake the sleeping baby. Yeah,
exactly. And so with that being said, he dropped down a lot at the beginning. He didn't get back to his birth weight for the first month, which the doctor was like, okay, well, I'd really like you to implement some supplement with formula. And I was like, no, I'll just feed more. And so I started having to latch him on both sides for every feeding. And I think it was 3.5 months because they were really insistent on me adding in the formula. And now I'm really mentally battling that again of not wanting to just like make it the easy choice and continue to like fight for the breastfeeding. But yeah, I do feel like the second time, like he's been a professional latcher. I did work with a consultant even still because they were concerned with his weight.
Okay.
That he, at his 2-month check-in, he was still at the 0 percentile.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, oh no, we need you to go see and make sure he's latching properly, which I knew he was latching. I could feel that he was latching properly,
Sure.
but I wanted to check all the boxes.
Yep.
So went and saw the lactation specialist, and she was like, and same thing. She like measured the time, how long he fed for. We did the weigh-in, and they're like, nope, he is getting. And they're like, okay, that's when it was at that point that I started doing the double side feeding. And so, but now I haven't done a wellness check. He's due next month. I'm trying to think. I'm like, he's already missed a month just because like medical's been hard to get into. Like we are super backed up over on the West Coast.
Okay.
I'm in Washington, and
Mhm.
it's like next to impossible. It's like a 2-month wait. So I'm like, okay, well, so much for the 3 and 4 months checkup. Let's just skip right to the 6 or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think he will excel. Like I can see
Mhm.
he's getting his little chunky cheeks are
Yeah.
coming in. He's getting the no neck. So
Yeah.
I think we're going places now with our
Good.
feeding. And so, yeah, and he loves to feed, and I feed him through the night, and
Mhm.
he's been actually waking up. I didn't think I would be happy that he would wake up in the night to feed,
Mhm.
but I am, because it's just really brought stabilization and normalization to like our whole feeding schedule
Mhm.
versus like waking up uncomfortable in the night.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I remember with my first waking up in the middle of the night being uncomfortable and pumping. And so, because he was starting to sleep 6 hours, but you make the most milk around 1 to 2 a.m. And so I would make sure before I went to bed, my pumping station was set up with a snack, a big reward, a snack, and water was already sitting there for me for when I got up in the middle of the night. So I do feel like that's helpful if your baby is sleeping longer and don't want to feed and they're okay on weight, so you aren't needing to. But yeah, I totally hear you. Wanting to just empty in the middle of the night is also super nice as well. Yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful. What is something that's maybe helped facilitate your breastfeeding journey easily or more easily? Sorry.
Yep. I like it. What has made it more easy? Well, I think for me, it's my time management,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that I may allow time to feed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I keep talking about that because I'm just such a busy body.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 other kids that I'm trying to manage at the same
Sure.
time. And as much as the older ones are super helpful, they also want my attention. And so what has been best is that I have actually made like my bedroom, like I enjoy taking him away where we have our own space. So I'm not
Mhm.
sitting in the living room where everyone's running around and he's getting distracted, but having that space. And so one of the things that I think of, like, which I tell my clients is like when they're doing something that's like taking away from their time or
Mhm.
needing like something that they don't like doing necessarily. And it's not that I don't like breastfeeding, but it's like something that is mandatory. So I
Mhm.
have to make it attractive. So like you're talking about having the snack, having the water,
Mhm.
like, on my bedside table, we have like a local toffee artist here who has
Yeah.
like the most amazing English toffee. And so I always have a bag of that on my bedside table. My husband was laughing at me the other day. He's like, you have a serious addiction. I'm like, I know, and I love it. So like, like I will like, and I'll have that toffee or I'll use that time as well. Like, because we're pulled away, like he
Mhm.
is like, I distract myself. So I'm not like watching the clock being like, okay,
Mhm.
like hurry up, let's go. But I'll
Mhm.
latch him and I'm distracted, like responding to an email or text
Mhm.
messages. And I use that, even that time alone has been really beneficial.
That's awesome. What is one thing you wish you would have known about breastfeeding?
For me, I think as much as I hydrated, it still wasn't enough.
Okay.
So even now, like I've really incorporated coconut water. So I try to
Mhm.
drink at least 2 liters of coconut water mixed in with my like 4 liters of water I drink a day. So I drink two
Amazing.
liters of regular, 2 liters of coconut water. I've noticed that's made a huge difference for my hydration.
Yeah.
And then nutrition. Being busy, it's easy to not eat, but then you have to recognize that you're not fueling for your baby as well. And
Mhm.
so one of the things I was talking to my girlfriend who is like, I call her like a super feeder. She is pumping like 6 to 8 ounces, like 3 times a day. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I do not. Like, she's still able to get storage. And I'm like, no, I feel like I've depleted mine. But she is doing it. And I said, what are you doing that's been so
Mhm.
beneficial? And she says every morning she makes sure she has like oats of some sort
Sure.
or like an egg breakfast or something like high protein, high carb.
Mhm.
And then her hydration has been key. So I've been trying to follow on her train with that because I mean, even as a personal trainer, thinking I know my nutrition and water, I mean, no matter what situation you go into, there's always going to be new challenges. And so for me, it's like still leveling up my hydration.
Mhm.
So if you see me on Instagram talking about water and you're ignored or tired of hearing about hydration, it's so important. That's what I have to say.
It is. No, it's great. I love talking about, I've always heard breakfast is the most important in the day. It's actually my favorite meal of the day. But I noticed once I had a second baby that you're so busy, like getting the toddler ready, sitting and breastfeeding, that sometimes you just grab your coffee. I'm a coffee person, and oops, that was my breakfast. And now it's time for snack or time for lunch. And you're like, ooh, I forgot to eat. And so, yeah, I would say very important. One of my big tips is to do those overnight oats, and you could get the glass jars and make 5 or 6 of them for the week. And then they're just in the fridge. And then reward yourself with putting other things in them. I like to put walnuts on it, or, chai seeds. One of my friends actually does chocolate almond milk. She said it's the best. I've never done that yet, but, so just reward yourself with something extra on top. But it's a great way to have something in the fridge in the morning.
Yeah. And I think just talking on nutrition, this is coming from the side of things. One thing I always say is like, to take care of ourselves isn't always something that's easy or something that we want to be doing or something we do. And so sometimes like eating breakfast in the morning, we don't want it, but we have to do it. One of the things I drink a lot of that you'll see daily as I try to share is like my greens drink in the morning. I truly believe that we don't get enough greens in our day, and it helps start my hydration. And so, but it's green. So it tastes like greens. It's not enjoyable. I do say I feel like I have the best ones, but I know what they do for my body. I feel like the reaction of like how my body loves and thirsts for them, and the glow that happens in my skin because of getting enough greens in the day. So I just would encourage you, like, if you're like, oh, it's just hard for me to get breakfast, I love the overnight oats. They're like so simple and go-tos, because I often will throw oats in a smoothie too in the morning. Sure. So if I'm like running out the door, I'll just try and add oats. Like the longest time I never thought about adding oats to a smoothie, because I was like, but they totally are beneficial there too.
Absolutely.
And the flaxseed.
Yeah. And the flaxseed. Yeah. I told my kids when they were little that they were sprinkles, because they didn't know what sprinkles were. So I've always like, do you guys want sprinkles? And then I got them out for some other kids at the house, and I was like, sprinkles. And they're like, those are not sprinkles. And I'm like, oh yeah. they are.
My kids.
I know. Shh, don't tell them that they're colorful, sugary things. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So since you said your greens aren't good, then do you like reward yourself with like a coffee afterwards? Like, I feel like that's how I would get through it. Like, let's eat something gross, and then I'm going to treat myself to my morning coffee.
No. So
no, that's okay. I'm just curious.
I don't know if this is going to be received well. But one of the things I try not to do is reward myself with more different kinds of food. Sure. Or if it's like a food, I will try to do something, but I try to do more of like a reward of like, I get to read my book, or I get to do these things. Like I find like different ways to bring that habit in. But what I do is I actually add in, it's like an energy, like it's a natural 55 milligrams of caffeine, but it's green tea and guarana. Okay. So it doesn't give you the same crash as the coffee. So I started trying to do that in the morning, and it actually has made the difference, because I really believe in like learning to listen to your body for food. And so when I have coffee, like my gut is like, don't like it. So what this energy does, and the gut health that I add in, so it's like a morning trio, it has a slight flavor. So like this morning I had the honeydew melon. It tasted like a mojito. Oh, nice. It has like a ginger gut health. So I mix those 3 together, and so it makes it a little bit less greeny. Okay. You can also just throw it in a smoothie, but that would be my tip to make it enjoyable.
Okay. Yeah. And I actually know Jenn personally, everyone. And so I can tell she's killing it with energy when you look at her Instagram. So if you look at it, you're always like, goodness, and you're doing something else. Like, she's taking her kids out, even on rainy days. She's going trying new spots. She's over at Costco. She's working out with her babies in front of her. Yeah. So like Jenn's got the energy. So I'm telling you, she knows what she's talking about.
You, Bethany, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Why don't you tell everyone, what is your favorite breastfeeding product you're using?
So it actually isn't necessarily like, I did use with Molly, like what are the nipple covers? Not covers, but like the nipple shields. I did use those. I was so excited with Oliver that I didn't have to use that anymore, because he had a better latch. But what I found, and I didn't know this about my first pregnancy, and I found with the second, for pumping, you don't just have to use those super big funnels, cups that they give you, that there's actually like flange inserts that you can purchase on Amazon that will actually pull in just like the small part of the nipple versus like the whole areola. And that makes all the difference. So I can actually pump in like generally less than 5 minutes is what I pump. And I get a good 4-ounce bottle. And then I just do it again 3 to 4 hours later. So that's been my, like the Flange inverse.
Yeah. And I want to add to that they are more silicone and flexible, correct, right? Yes. Than being so hard like the other ones that you're like, oh, it's just so hard. I do know another mom the other day, she was an exclusive pumper. She also talks about how the silicones are nicer, and she went from pumping an hour and cut her time in half as well. So
pumping an hour?
Well, yeah.
Maybe combined. That can't be all at once. Could that be all at once?
It's a long story. You'll have to go listen to the episode, but it is. But she had a NICU baby that was born early. So so she was trying to, so she was actually recommended to go that long. So yeah.
No, that's good to know. I love learning things like that. So
I know.
Listen to that episode.
Yeah. Trust me, I have learned a lot. We've had a lot of different mamas on here. So go back and listen to other episodes if you haven't. I have anywhere from twin mamas, preemie mamas, NICU stories, all the things. So go back and listen. Everyone's story is different, and it's been a lot of fun to hear. Yes. Yeah. So, well, I want to thank you for your time, but can you let everyone know how they can connect with you, Jenn?
Yes, absolutely. Come find me on my website, jennlathrop.com, and you can actually download a free mini podcast that I've created for you. You can binge watch it. It's less than 40 minutes. It's got 5 episodes, and I really talk about what the Healthy Mom Method is and how I introduce nutrition, exercise, mindset, and self-care. So those are my 4 big pillars, and I'm going to talk through those with you. You can also find me on Instagram, where I share all my energy, my workouts, at thehealthymom.academy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and your insight. I know our mamas super appreciate it.
Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you so much for listening in. If you loved this episode, it would mean so much if you would share it with another mama or post on social media and tag me. I want to personally thank you for wanting to help other mamas. You got this. I'm rooting for your breastfeeding journey.